The American population is on the brink of a major change. As of January 1, 2011, 10,000 Americans turn 65 each day and become eligible for Medicare. This enormous population is now reaching the age of retirement, and they're hoping to enjoy the fruits of their years of hard work. So, successful retirement for many, it means this: 1, having enough resources; 2, avoiding nursing homes; and 3, not becoming a burden on loved ones. But because of dwindling resources and increasing demand, without the proper planning, successful retirement will be difficult for many. However, there is hope for the future and successful retirement. Now, it will take a little bit of work, more than the traditional planning tools. The key is to focus on all 4 pillars of planning: financial, legal, health, and housing, with an experienced counselor to help navigate. A plan that synthesizes all 4 of these elements will help you enjoy this next phase of your life worry-free. So here's to you and your successful retirement. Many aging adults fear a forced move due to an injury, failing health, or financial concerns is unavoidable. But a little planning can help you stay in your own home. Should the time for a move eventually come, by planning now, you can find a housing community that's right for you and avoid ones that do not meet your needs.
I didn't want to be in a house anymore by myself after my husband was gone. I can see why some people don't want to move, because their friends are close by and they forget their health. This is why, again, I said it's a blessing to the kids. They didn't have to decide for me. They were part of the decision, but they weren't pushing either one of us.
What's great about Big Fir is actually it has a lot of the benefits that some of those institutional facilities offer, in that this has some thoughtful design to it, in that there's no steps or thresholds to have to deal with. There's no exterior yard maintenance to deal with. There is wider doorways, a few other things that are designed into basically what looks and feels like a regular residential single-family home. I think oftentimes they do think that they're going to be stuck in a institution or a facility. The reality, though, is there are a lot more options out there. What's nice is oftentimes people think of it as downsizing, but I often look at it as right sizing. You know, what's the right size? What's the right type of home that's appropriate for you, given the phase of life and the stage of life you're at?
One of the things that when students come here, we like to use is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And it always starts with the first need is air, food, water. The next level is safety and security needs, then love and belonging needs, then self-esteem, and then self-actualization, or I call it fulfillment. My hope is that as staff, we are working on those basic needs, that we're providing the main meal, the environment is safe and clean. My hope is that people will come here and find fulfillment at that top. I'm hoping that Maslow's chart that is like this becomes like this, where those things are important, but they're really minor compared to this big area of fulfillment.
As we age, our health care needs change. Having the right medical team headed by a geriatrician will ensure that you're receiving the best, most up-to-date care. They'll have options and answers that other medical providers whose specialties are less closely focused on your needs may miss.
Geriatric medicine is a branch of medicine that really focuses on health promotion and treating and preventing diseases and disability as a person gets older in life. In medicine and internal medicine and in family medicine, one is taught usually is that it's related to one thing, that if you treat one thing that will relieve that symptom. Unfortunately, as we get older, a lot of different things will add up to that. In the instance of falls, it's related to physical inactivity, it's related to general weakness, it can be related to a person's comorbid conditions, and there are medical conditions that are related to a person falling, potentially. And it takes a geriatrician who is trained and specialized in thinking in a multifactorial way and thinking of a team approach into solving a problem such as falls.
A geriatrician is a doctor that deals almost totally with old folks. Oh, yes. That's my doctor.
Really?
Yes, Dr. Fordyce. She's a geriatric. She can tell you what the story is with you getting old.
A story of a particular patient where they actually were given a diagnosis of diabetes in later life. So she was at the age of 69 and given a diagnosis of diabetes. She made a commitment to lifestyle change, and she made a commitment to exercising, and touching on those three components that I had talked about: cardiovascular exercise, strength, and balance. And she also made a commitment to moderation and watching what she was eating. And so through this process, she was referred to a therapist to increase her endurance, to give her a game plan of what she could do for exercise. She was referred to a nutritionist to educate her about the proper types of foods that she should eat and things that she should do to decrease the caloric intake that she was doing. And through this, though, she dropped 20 pounds and has become so active that she's traveling around the world, climbing mountains in South America now.
Another area of healthcare that is often overlooked is loneliness. Bad health can result in loneliness and social isolation, especially if we are unable to leave our homes and do the things that we love to do.
Well, social isolation is being by yourself and not having good contacts with other people. And that's a danger for older people because, you see, you could just be trapped in your own home or in an apartment and not see other people. And that would be very dangerous.
Our son, for a while, volunteered in California with Meals on Wheels. And he went to people's homes where they lived alone. And when he would go to take their meal to them, put it in the refrigerator, he would have to be backing out the door saying goodbye because they wanted somebody to talk to. Now, I call that isolation. Their spouse maybe has died and they're just stuck in the house. They have no transportation, no friends to come see them. You have to make friends so that you have people like that to support you when you're older that will come visit. And especially with Voss and I, we have a couple that we're very fond of, and they live down in South Seattle and they're only 40 years old, but they are our good friends. And you want to be around young people.
I don't know what I'd do without my friends. Each friend contributes something to my life that is important. Your contacts with your friends are so important and they're so vital. So I would not trade one friendship that I have.
Legal planning can be one of the most tedious, confusing, daunting tasks of aging and retirement. But a good elder law attorney can make the process much simpler and help you avoid legal difficulties before they even come up.
The issue then really becomes is, should I approach estate planning any differently now that I'm starting to think retirement than I did when I was younger? And the answer is unequivocally yes, because in retirement we have very different things we are concerned about. To begin with, we're concerned about protecting our assets. If we can somehow protect our assets, that would be a good thing. We do that for estate taxes, and we now need to start doing it against medical costs as well, because Medicare may not cover and may not end up covering long-term care expenses. Medicaid and VA will. And so in your estate planning, having a will or a trust, that is the same old conversation, but we also need to consider the viability of something called a safe harbor trust or a special needs trust, which protects money from uncovered medical and long-term care costs. In addition to that, one of the goals that we always hope for in retirement is not only should we hopefully not run out of money, and hopefully we stay out of a nursing home, but we conduct our lives so that we never become a burden on our children. And to that end, having a power of attorney that simply places responsibility on the children without meaningful guidance is not a viable or a good solution. Your powers of attorney are still important. You need to have those. But in your power of attorney, you need to acknowledge that your children may not have the skills necessary to help them magically figure out how to keep you out of a nursing home. put into your powers of attorney some language that requires for your children to access qualified assistance of a nurse, of a social worker who can help guide them how to bring in the services so you can age at home, avoid institutional care, and also be able to qualify for Medicare, Medicaid, VA, all those other programs so your assets are protected.
Once you put a plan in place, the key thing here is to make sure all your loved ones and close ones for your own life, if it comes to that where you can't speak for yourself, that your executor or your guardian understands what this means.
One of the biggest mistakes people make in retirement planning, I think, is we take a look at life in compartments and chunks. We have a financial planner, and we rely on the financial planner to make financial investment advice. And why should that person have anything to do with law? You go to a lawyer to do a traditional estate planning, a will or a trust, powers of attorney, living will, that sort of stuff. Recognize that in retirement, all these things are related to each other. If you have a stroke and you end up in the hospital, they may end up saving your life, but when you want to come back home, you may not be able to come back home. Why? Because your house is not set up. And if you cannot come back home, you have to be in a rehab or a nursing home setting. Medicare will pay up to maybe 100 days of your coverage there. After that, it's all private pay. And the cost is not inexpensive. It is $300 to $400 per day. So at $9,000 to $12,000 per month, that becomes a financial issue. So if you have done just the traditional planning, taking the traditional planning steps of dealing with a financial planner for this issue and a doctor for this issue and a lawyer for this issue and have not connected the dots, that is a recipe for disaster, particularly if you find yourself in failing health and now needing to deal with housing, financial, and legal, all three issues at the same time. Would it not be so much better for us to take a look at these things comprehensively today while you still have your good health about you? Who do you turn to for that? A good elder law attorney, I think, would be a good starting point for you.
The fourth pillar in comprehensive planning is finances. There are a few of us that can enjoy financial security for life, but for the majority, financial planning is necessary to ensure that our retirement years are free of financial difficulties. Financial planners can not only help you put together a solid plan now, but can ensure that your plan is a flexible one that's able to change and adapt along with your life.
If you're not talking about money, you're losing it. So the first thing that I tell the seniors is there's no big secret here. You have some money, whether it be a small pot of gold or a large pot of gold, there's something there. And if the family as a whole doesn't know what you're working with, no plan can be created. Be open and be honest. And there are solutions, both state funding benefits, like I mentioned before, there's the Veterans Program. There's wonderful individualized social programs here in our state that can give many, many different solutions. It's just knowing what you have to work with.
What I learned from my father that didn't have insurance and having to go on Medicaid, when my mother, maybe 6 years later, had special needs of her own with limited resources, that we went out and got a long-term care policy for my mother at 86, and we were paying pretty close to $1,800 a month. By securing a policy myself in my 50s, I pay less than $750 a year. So I think it's behooves one, if you have the resources, to do something like this as early as you can.
You are not alone in this. Retirement does not symbolize the end of anything except maybe long work hours. It is the beginning of something new, a new chapter. Just take the first step. Ask yourself, what does successful retirement and successful aging mean to me?
I've always used this idea that every day's a Saturday. I don't have to punch a clock. I can set up a routine of what is working for me.
You need to just travel and enjoy life and meet new people and have new experiences and make your life as rich and happy as you possibly can.
Take control of your future by acting now on the 4 pillars mentioned: housing, health, legal, and financial. Do this with an experienced elder law counselor who can coordinate all 4 elements with you. Don't wait until there's an emergency. stay healthy. The good news is you can live the way you've always wanted to live.